Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing? This is Joseph Ott here. This is the My Talent Checklist podcast, where we talk with entertainers about the music and the business of what they're doing, and try to provide the listeners with some understanding of what makes them tick and what they can do and do better. Like I said, this is Joe Ott here. We've got Chris Wills, of course, our co-host on the My Talent Checklist podcast.
Yes, sir.
And today we have with us Preach. And Preach is a hip-hop artist in St. Louis, originally from Romania. And so Preach, were you born in Romania or?
Yeah, first of all, thank you guys so much for having me on, and much success and continuation. I'm happy to be a part of the My Talent Checklist.
Right.
So rock on, guys.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But yes, Joe, I was born in Romania. I was born in 1985. A lot of artists are, a little weary about giving their age, so I'll let you guys do the math. But I was born and raised in a city on the border of Hungary. So
Okay.
I was born in Oradea. My family moved over in 1991 of September, and I've been here ever since.
Yeah,
I've been making my way down Journey Road ever since.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And you're out of St. Louis, right?
Based out of St. Louis, correct.
Yeah, very cool.
Yes,
Very
sir.
cool.
Represent.
That's really interesting how a family from so far away in Romania would pick, coming to America would pick the center of America to live in.
Yeah, well, I think we do have a lot of Eastern Europeans here, the Bosnians in particular.
Correct.
Was that
they have the biggest population in the entire United States.
right?
Yeah.
So
over
was
100,000.
that part of what influenced you to come here, or
No, to be honest, I think. I know my dad and mom. Obviously Romania was a communist country all the way until 1989. It was under
Right.
Russian rule, Eastern Bloc rule, and I found out by speaking to my mom and dad not too long ago, we were actually on the last plane that left from Romania to come to the United States. So apparently I didn't know that there were two planes in front of that one, that we didn't get an opportunity to come over. My dad waited, he waited almost close to 14 years to get his paperwork, his visa approved to leave. And we came over. But yeah, how we ended up in St. Louis, I think they gave my parents a choice to go somewhere to the West Coast, maybe like Oregon, Ohio, and I think they just chose St. Louis. So
there you go.
here we are, the heart
It's
of
kind
it,
of
baby.
interesting.
STL.
It is, right? And I think about that all the time, man. I think about a lot of
You
people
could have
back
ended
home.
up
I could have
anywhere,
ended up anywhere in the world,
and you ended up in St. Louis.
in the gateway city.
And
That's-
we're
that's
we're
pretty cool.
thankful for
That's
that.
right.
We're very thankful for that.
Thank
You
you.
Oh,
truly-
absolutely.
I'm extremely thankful and humbled, man, because I think about my buddies back home, and I think about the smart, intelligent, hardworking guys out there, and they're just struggling to make a living. Romania is a beautiful country, but economically very poor.
Yeah.
Still, a lot
So
of corruption.
So does the your Romanian background? Do you think that influenced you to get into hip hop?
Man, now that I'm older and I look back at it, I think it had some sort of tie-in with my music. I've always loved the customs and the traditions from back home, so it warms my heart. I often find myself watching YouTube and watching all the villagers and watching people line dance and like our version of folklore music, and I just love the customs. So I think it's always been a part of me. I think it's something that my mom said I was always dancing at a young age, and there's videos of me rapping a certain mix-a-lot, and oh God, all types of me and my buddy Chops, my mom and dad, they're peeing their pants watching that stuff. So, but I think it definitely tied in, Joe. I think something along the lines.
So you were beating on the pots and pans.
I was beating on the pots and pans. I was hitting the Congo. I was doing cartwheels and using my nunchucks and rapping at the same time.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So when would you say was like the birth of you like starting your music journey? Like what influenced you, and when did you first like, you know what, I'm gonna try to write a rhyme today? Like when was that?
Man,
When did that happen?
That's a good question. So maybe I'll take it in a phase. I'll give you guys a breakdown in a couple. So the first, first of all, hearing music and just seeing music videos blew my mind. As a kid, I'm like a sponge. I'm soaking everything in. I'm learning a language. I'm calling things the wrong names. I'm calling clouds clowns. I'm pointing, oh, look at the clowns. My buddy's like, oh, ain't clowns, those are clouds.
Right.
But that's the cool thing that I remember about getting started with music is, like they used to throw rocks at my window to get me to come outside and play.
Right.
Because
Okay.
kids being kids, communicating like, hey, we like you, come outside. You know what I mean? So we hung around, and then music, what really got me into music now that I think about it is Channel 58. We had a television show back in the day called Channel 58 The Box. And, man, you could call up and order music videos. Everybody had music videos. So every genre you could think of, from the Blink-182s to the Bone Thugs and Harmonies to the Aerosmiths, the Nirvanas, the underground guys. I mean, everybody. Even the Crips and the Bloods had music videos that were played on Channel 58. So the first cassette tape I heard, the first record I heard was by a Latin artist named Kid Frost. He was a big Chicano rapper, a Mexican-American rapper from the West Coast, and he had a song called This Is For The Raza. And I heard the bass, and I'm like, oh, that rhythm and bass. And then when Dr. Dre dropped The Chronic,
Yeah.
game over. When I heard that G-Funk, I was, goosebumps. So I really enjoyed the rhythm and bass, but when I really, really said, man, I want to be like this, I want to do what these guys are doing, is when my buddies and my mentors, Bone Thugs and Harmony, dropped in 1994 from Cleveland, Ohio. And when I seen that Thuggish Ruggish Bone video, I fell to my knees like it was the Messiah himself. I'm like, man, who are these guys? These guys are cool. Like, I love the sound. It's the Thuggish Ruggish Bone. Oh,
Yeah,
we used to mimic it through the neighborhood. You know, the neighborhood kids. We'd say, they didn't say Thuggish Ruggish. They said Duggish Ruggish. No, it's not Duggish Ruggish. It's Thuggish Ruggish. We didn't know what the content was about. We didn't understand the street lingo and all that stuff. So, but yeah, that's really where it like kicked in and it fueled something. And ever since then, around the age of 12 is the earliest memory I have. I really started putting down my ideas on pen and pad. So that as when I was about 12 years old is really when it kicked in. And then I started writing music. And I remember my first rap name, I don't think I've ever shared it, was Rick Dog.
Rick
Dog.
Okay.
You know, because my name is Eric, but my mother, I'm 36 years young, and my mother has never called me Eric a day in my life. I've never heard my mother say, Eric, come here. She'd say, Ricky, Rikitsi. She said, Ricky. So Ricky was like, everybody knew me as Ricky. So I guess, I'm like Rick Dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rick Dog, baby. That's right. 12 years old, baby.
Yeah. He should release an album called Rick Dog.
Dog.
Yeah.
Just
throw
at least a
everybody
track.
off.
I mean,
Just throw everybody off.
Oh, yeah. Good times, man. God, I miss it. Because the cool thing about it, not to touch too much more on it, but, well, I don't want to deviate off the subject, but I appreciate it because there were so many different ethnic backgrounds in the neighborhood I grew up in. Around Tower Grove.
Around Tower Grove. Okay.
Tower Grove, South City. It was the melting pot.
Yeah.
Melting pot. I love it, man.
I can see that.
Oh yeah, we had Cambodian kids, we had Laotian kids, we had people from Zambia. We had one of my best friends growing up. His name was Chingape. His family was from Africa. We went to school together, and really cool, man.
Did he call you Rick Dog?
He didn't call me Rick Dog. No. Chingape. Shout out to my buddy Chingape. We got suspended in the 3rd grade together, but yeah.
What happened?
Man, that's the only suspension I had. But I don't know what compelled me to. I was a young lad full of a lot of energy, and we were playing, karate in the yard and on recess, and some girls were jump roping, and me and a couple of my buddies thought it'd be a good idea to walk over there and mess with them. So I picked up about a 3-foot stick off the ground, and I don't know what the heck was going on in my mind, but I lifted up her skirt and boom, I whacked her over the butt with it. I know, man. I respect my women, ladies. Forgive me. Rick Dog.
The Rick Dog came out.
Yeah, the Rick Dog. So I got a 3-day suspension for that. But luckily, my parents were they were upset. But I thought they'd tear my head off, because my boy, there's no fear like my mother instilled in me.
Yeah.
I told my mom one day. Here's a funny story too. Here in the United States, everybody's, you can call your parents on this. You can get the cops involved in, good old-fashioned ass whooping. So I told my mom, whatever the phone line is, if you spank me, I'm going to call so-and-so, and they're going to come get you. My mom said, oh, yeah? Go ahead, call them. Boom! You know what I mean?
All right. So, yeah, there you go.
Oh, good times, man. But thank you for touching on that. Yeah.
That's cool. So you said it was 12, the age of 12 when you first started, like, writing your ideas down. So after that period of time, how much after that was your first release? My first release when I was 14 years old. And where did you release that? I cut my first song on cassette tape, and my buddy Kodak, shout out to Kodak, Daxon Moore, much love, my brother. I cut my first song at his house in his mom's attic at the age of 14. I cut my first cassette tape. I was 14 years young. And what was the equipment that you guys were recording? Oh, my God, man. I don't even know. I think we were on like an 8-track. It was cassette tape. We had a dual-sided cassette player. He was doing all the recording, him and Trey Foes. Shout out to Trey Foes.
But yeah, we used to go to Kodak's. I used to walk.
So
up.
it was as legit as it could be.
It was as legit
at that time.
It was as legit as it can be, but the quality, of course, was very.
You still have any of that stuff?
Man, I know he may have some of that stuff. I may have something tucked away, but man, we had some bangers. And when I got a taste of that, Joe, it changed my life. I think that's what really pushed me even more into it. To dive deeper into it. When I heard it, I'm like, man, this is cool. I want more of this.
When you heard,
when I heard, I'm like, Rick Dog, you're never gonna let that down now. Hey, Rick Dog, hey,
that's awesome,
man, right?
That's awesome.
Memories.
Do you remember the first song, like the name? Do you remember that?
I
Is
don't
it linked
remember.
Somewhere on YouTube?
I don't think I remember the first song because I think it was more like a freestyle over an instrumental.
Oh,
but I
for
remember
real?
one song went something like, "I don't think you wanna smoke now with the real. Before I kill ya, I just might give ya some of that herb you like. That'll blow your mind on sight." That was Kodak. Kodak was writing the hooks, and I was just, me and Chops would walk up there, and my buddy Chops, we'd walk up there and always record, man. We used to be anxious to get in there, and we looked up to those guys because they were a little older, and they were already recording. They had songs, and I was just like, oh,
they're giving you opportunity.
yeah, it was an opportunity,
Yeah,
man. They were the first ones. No, that's
really cool.
This is very cool, and I appreciate them forever. He'll always have a place in my heart. Him and Trade, I love those guys. They're all doing their thing, their family thing now. But they introduced me into a world that I didn't know existed really, into the side of the music recording aspect of the music. Yeah. So I owe them that, and I thank them for that opportunity. And it was fun. It was harmless. We were just kids being kids, and we love music, man. So we didn't look at that business part of it. We did it for the love aspect of it. And
so the birth of Rick Dog was born, and then, like, how did you transition from being a solo artist, I guess, and initially into the group or forming? I remember you saying something about the Wet Gremlins.
Wet Gremlins.
Right. How did that situation come about?
So the Wet Gremlins, that's a good question, Yachty. I always consider myself a solo artist, but we did the group thing with my buddy Chops, and originally, a lot of people don't know, my buddy Thump, my buddy Nick Johnson, who lived up the street from me on the same street. He lived up the street on Potomac. He actually came up with the name, and we put it together. Originally was me, Chops, and Thump. And then Thump, he was just young hooligan. He was more into the girls, and he's like a young what's his name? What's dude's name from Ricky from what do you call it, from Boys in the Hood? Morris Chestnut.
Oh yeah,
he was pretty. He loved the ladies and stuff. So he didn't really take the music as, I don't want to say he's gonna see it like, damn, Ricky, really. He was just more into the lady phase, which was cool, And me and Chops, we were like, come on, man. So we kind of went our way and then ran with the Wet Gremlins, and then we introduced a guy by the name of Brian Stringer into it. We brought him into it, and we did the Wet Gremlin thing for quite a while in the city. We did it for about a good 6-7 years.
Were you still recording at the original
I was
spot?
still doing, no, I wasn't recording at the original spot anymore. I went to a studio that was called Rock House Studios. It was in Lime. That's where that was like the first real studio I really, when I say studio,
does that studio still exist?
I don't think it does.
Day?
I don't think it does. It was a guy by the name of Jimmy Guns who ran it. I don't think it's still there. I'm almost 99.9% sure it's not there anymore. But that's what I consider like a first real studio, because those guys were running it as a business. They had thousands of dollars of equipment. They had the real deal. They had the different booths in there, and it was a business. It was
paying the lease,
and all that jazz, right? So
you guys were like saving up your money and going in there and recording.
Yeah. We paid by the hour, And one of the first engineers I worked with, he was a guy named Paul. I'd call him off the wall Paul. It was cool, man. And then from there, I bounced over to Jupiter Studios. Now, this is when Jupiter Studios was located downtown on Washington. They had a studio on the 7th floor, and that's where I got a chance to meet my buddy Matt Sawicki, who has been my engineer for the past 16, 17 years.
So when the Wet Gremlins came about, is that when Preach came about?
No.
The name?
The name Preach came about before that. We retired Rick Dog. We put Rick Dog to rest. We retired Rick Dog.
Was there just, did your friend, like, man, the name Rick Dog ain't really
No,
sticking.
it
or,
wasn't that. It was a
like-
lot of people would say, man, they'd say, man, you sound like a wise soul. Man, you sound like you have so much knowledge. You preach? Are you a preacher? I was like, preach. So everybody would say it, and they were like, man, you preach. What's up, preach? Somebody, I can't recall who's. So I said, you know what? I like that, preach. I like that name. I like it because I feel like I could run with it, and that's who I am. So I put an acronym to it. I spell it with the periods, and now that I think about it, I'm like, man, I love my name with the periods, but it also it backfires on me because nobody wants to type in P.R.E. So I keep it simple, PREACHSTL now for music purposes, right? But the name Preach basically came about because of my personality. People say, man, he's just something about you. It's just something I see, your aura. And so I said, well, who is Preach? So I said, Preach is me inside out. So then I put an acronym to it. I love acronyms. So PREACH stands for peacefully respect everyone amongst continuous hate. So I chose amongst. It was more noble than among. You know what I mean? Like a musketeer, amongst continuous hate. Yeah.
So from an attorney aspect, Joe, like there's probably several people that are going to listen to this that are young, under the age of 18, that, you know, form groups to go record at these studios with their friends. What kind of advice would you give to maybe the family or the adults that, you know, supervise these kids or to potentially manage these kids? Because I mean, at that time when you guys formed the group, Wet Gremlins, were you still teenagers at that time?
We were teenagers, yeah. I was about 18 years old. Well, yeah, because I really, like I said, it really kicked off for me when I was 14. I graduated, in 2003. So really, that's when things really lit up. But we were already doing it like sophomore, junior years when it was popping. And then I remember the Wet Gremlins really kicking off.
So did
right
you guys
after
have like logo?
Oh, we had logos. We wore green. We didn't have any of that, though. No,
so
our business was not intact.
So you guys didn't really think business. You were just
thinking music.
Music.
And now we had a hell of a following. I'll tell you that. I mean, they know it. Everybody knows it. You could ask St. Louis.
Yeah.
We used to throw house parties, man. We'd have 100 people in a small South City basement. I mean, people couldn't. They were lined up to get in the party with us. You know, we were known all around town for wearing green, and hell, they thought we were even a gang. We got flagged many times, and seriously, just riding around, just.
So, at what point, Joe, do you think that, you know, artists such as Preach and the situation of forming a group, do they need to think LLC and business? Like, what point do you think that's, you know?
I think it's advantageous at the beginning. You know, we started these series talking with Stretch, and you know, he was talking about Jay-Z and the blueprint and that kind of thing. And I think having that mindset is beneficial in terms of developing your following, but also basically the business of it. Because if you had the, you know, say the LLC associated with your business at that time, you had all the copyrights and that kind of thing in order, then maybe it's easier to connect over a long period of time with those fans and develop it into something that's going to create sort of a recurring revenue stream, or alternatively, even if you're not going for revenue, that'll just create a cohesive listener experience, so you can really build that relationship with the audience. And I think that there are certain legal things that you can do that'll enable that, you know, getting the LLC and that sort of thing. And we were talking before about the name, you know, and basically I think a trademark on the name is a great idea. Because when you release music, you know, you want to avoid any confusion as to what is your release and what's somebody else's. And you want to be able to know when somebody searches on Spotify for Preach that you're going to come up.
Right, okay? Because there's that's a great point, Joe, because if you type in my name, there are other artists, especially on YouTube, where we get clumped in together.
Preach, and
Preach,
the other
and there's
Preach.
Another Preach, and there's like 2 or 3 other Preaches. Yeah. So I'm like, man, and my music gets clumped in.
So yeah, if you were to trademark that, I mean, you know, you could prevent them from using that name, send them a cease and desist letter or something like that. So, you know, it can definitely be helpful.
Yeah,
but I also think people shouldn't be dissuaded from pursuing that just because they don't have such legal protections, and they should just, you know, basically go for it like you did.
For sure.
Because, you know, the reward is in doing it in some ways. And the legal stuff can come kind of as an afterthought. But it can also help, you know, cordon off your energies going forward and develop it into a more progressive and reliable structure, you know, so that it's more it's got more cash and more weight going forward. So I think it can be helpful for that reason.
You know, fellas, when we got into it, you've been doing it a long time too, Joe. You know, back then we didn't have the resources that these kids have now.
Yeah,
I mean, we were doing guerrilla marketing. We would put cups on a highway and spell out a message. We would do flyer hand-to-hand transactions. You know, we'd go down there and peddle CDs in the Del Mar Loop, and we made a lot of money down here, but we'd get kicked out of there every 10 minutes because they say, hey, where's your peddler's license? Or you can't be down here. You know, I miss that aspect of the game.
Right.
I love that hand-to-hand combat is what I call it, because that right there leaves your face embedded in somebody's memory forever. And a lot of people till this day say, Preach, I remember meeting you in the gas station, man. You pulled up, we were looking at this guy sitting here, and it was you. You had CDs, and I remember buying one off of you. And man, I didn't take that CD out of my CD player for 3 summers. Another guy told me, said, I listened to your music so long, man, I couldn't, I had to get a new tape deck because the CD wouldn't come back out, you know? So those are the memories that I love. And see, back then we didn't really understand. We weren't even thinking. We didn't have the mentality, or we didn't have the Jimmy Iovine's, or we didn't have the Clive Davises, or we didn't just even have a person that was a little more business-minded to say, guys, that's all good and dandy. You guys are dope, but where's the business structure? If you want to really take this to the next level, there are certain steps that you have to take.
Yeah, I think the knowledge was on a stronghold back then, to where it wasn't so freely accessible. You know, the game wasn't
as accessible as it is now. Nowadays, you can go viral and you need one song, and these kids are putting out 5 songs a week. They're flooding SoundCloud,
and that's the reason why I brought up that point for you to address on, Joe, is because you know the listeners are gonna listen to Preach's story of the history that he has, but these young kids now have all these tools and it's easily accessible on the internet. Yeah. So I think, having their per se, the ducks in the row from the beginning can actually just set them up for success later on down the road as their skill set.
It's the knowledge aspect of it. I mean, nowadays the knowledge is much more disseminated, much more easily available, and growing up with that sort of knowledge structure when young people begin producing content is invaluable. And I think that, part of what we're trying to do is also to provide that education in a certain way. And I think it's increasingly viable for people to make a living doing these sorts of content productions, like with that music and having a defined business strategy, having a defined revenue stream. We want to be able to give them the tools that they need to be able to do that, basically.
And I appreciate that from an artist's perspective. I really do. And see it. There's so much knowledge out there, and a lot of times I feel like it's overwhelming, especially for a young artist. They don't know where to start. They think they just, they have it under control. And it's like, you don't realize there's so many things that you should sign your music up with. Whenever you put out a release, there are different ways. I mean, you could put out a release, but if you don't sign up for Nielsen SoundScan, you're never going to be able to even have a chance to be on Billboard, so, quote unquote. And then this is something I learned recently. A part of me feels bad because I feel like, dang, I really didn't take the time to really become a little more thorough as far as what I'm doing. I focus so much on artistic point of my music. I didn't put the same amount of study into the business side of it and say, how can I get my music to go further with the listener? And not only that, what can I do to get a little more benefits from putting out my music, because I've put out so much music and I've put out so much money out of pocket. Everything I've done is out of pocket. It firsthand.
Yeah, and I think, he hit on it about not having enough time, because you do only have 100% pie into what you put your time into. Right. So if an artist is, full blown in creative mode, putting out consistent content, hitting the studio on a consistent basis, but they don't have a team structure or such as a managed service to help them streamline those processes to where it isn't a cluttered confusion in their brain, to where it's very strategically outlined on a checklist to make their business structure come together nicely. Yeah, I think that's the benefit of having a checklist.
And don't get me wrong, fellas. We had a lot of people come in and quote unquote play managerial roles and try to get in and give us guidance and stuff. But I feel like and I appreciate that. But I feel like even those guys didn't really have the knowledge base nor the track record. Really that would set them apart from anybody else or even us with the little knowledge base that we had. So it's kind
Right.
of like we're running in circles. We hear about these things, but do we really understand what it takes to solidify these things and to get the right paperwork? But if I would have had that right management underneath me, I think some things really would have kicked off.
So you guys had
earlier
you guys
age.
had a huge following,
Oh, man.
almost thought of as a gang, and that's
Yeah.
usually what happens. Like ICP,
And that's not a negative thing. You know what I
ICP
mean?
was
Yeah,
considered the same thing with the juggalos and stuff like
it's
that.
all
But
labels means nothing.
besides selling tickets to obtain revenue, what was there any paid shows that you guys experienced during the time of the Wet Gremlins to where you guys actually got paid to headline a show or something like
There
that?
were a few shows. I can't say there were a lot of shows, but yeah, there were a handful of shows where we got paid. Absolutely.
So the game back then was still like the artists sell the tickets and give the promoter
100%.
you know,
That's and
the
we
name
used
of the
to be
game
so
back then.
eager to do that, Joe. We used to, man, we'd bring in these guys so much money, even as a solo act. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd open up for people and put my name on a flyer, and just the promoters would know just off of my name, I would draw 50 to 100 people in the door. So I'm like, man,
I think that the selling of a ticket when you're an independent artist, I think there are some benefits to that still to this day because you connect. You have such a easy access to people through the social media,
Right.
and then having the ability to actually meet and have them have a chance to actually see you prior to the show is a benefit to be able to establish that fan base, or a friend buying a ticket for another friend, and just connecting the dots. That goes kind of back to that hand-to-hand combat, as you would say.
Yeah, so why don't we go into that, though? Like, what are some things in particular when you were engaging in the hand-to-hand combat that you would do to get people interested in your stuff?
So basically, man, when I'd run into somebody, I'd say, hey, how you guys doing? My name is Preach. I don't want to take up your time. I just want to introduce you. You guys like hip-hop, rap? Do you listen? Oh, yeah. Well, we'd give them flyers. Absolutely. Flyers, big time. We love flyers. Not only that, we invested in an LG 5-tower burning machine. I think we paid like $400 with it, man. And
What's that? I don't understand.
it duplicates CDs.
Oh, okay.
So it's a five
Yeah,
disc
yeah,
tower,
back in the
right?
day,
So,
okay,
man,
yeah.
we probably pumped out at least 50,000 just CDs out of that thing. So
Independently.
like
Off the
on
one
the street,
machine.
on the street. Now think about it. If we would have known about, barcodes and understanding how to count it as a number, as a sale.
The technology.
The technology like those guys were doing in Houston, popping trunk, making $1 million straight out the trunk. We didn't understand that, man, and it irks me. But I also understand this is the reality of it. It's nothing to be ashamed about.
It was the name of the game
It's the
back
name of the
then.
game, man.
Yep.
But that's what we did, Joe. We had a lot of hand-to-hand. CDs were our main. CDs and flyers were our two main ways of promotion. We'd also put up posters. Oh, man, we'd get in a ninja mode. We'd climb up, tack them on the street poles.
I think artists
man.
are really lacking that.
Initiative.
There's nothing wrong with it
even
today.
today, like even when we went to the music conferences and the artist showcases that we've been to this year, only a handful of them actually had promo material.
Oh, yeah, we put them at bus stops, man. We used to, if there was a show going on in town, by the time everybody gets back to their car, they'd all have a flyer under their windshield wipers.
Yeah, there you go.
You know what I mean? And hey, I'm still going to do that. My next show, you know what I mean? I don't want to speak on it yet. I'll speak on it a little bit later on down the line, but we're going to do the same thing. I think there's nothing wrong with putting flyers out there. And why? I mean, how can you lose? People, all they might do is throw it out the window. Have I frisbeed a couple CDs before? Yes. Do I feel bad about it? Yes. Sometimes I do because I'm like, damn. What if
Is that after
somebody
you
did
put it in the CD player?
Yes.
Or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't just frisbee it just to frisbee it.
Okay.
I frisbeed it after
Yeah,
I
first
went
you're
through
like,
it and I said,
no, I'm not
I
into
can't.
this.
My
Yeah.
ears are screeching. I'm not into this, and no
Yeah.
disrespect. Yeah, it was a dick move, but I frisbeed it. I checked the shit out that motherfucker. I frisbeed it from here to South County.
Yeah.
Boom, straight past River to Paris.
Right in the
Boom,
Mississippi.
boom.
That's funny.
Good times. But yeah.
The glorious river to Pear.
Oh, glorious River to Paris. Oh,
So you have a very diverse, I would say, vocabulary, and your lyrical content is, I would say, over the top with your songwriting, because I've been a fan of your music for years, and I wanted to know where exactly does your storytelling and defining certain, I guess, situations or life situations in your music, where does all that stem from? Like what artists are, I know you said Bone Thugs, but like when you're in creative mode and you're writing a song, where does that lyrical content stem from, you think?
Right on. So, man, to be honest with you, I think it really stems from the way I was raised. I'm very blessed to have both parents in my life. They put down a really good, solid foundation for me. And my experiences, just meeting people throughout my lifetime, meeting people and understanding people's body language, understanding their circumstances, how they were raised. Many of the same people I named, or made mention to earlier that I grew up with, just playing hide and go seek and, doing somersaults and stuff like that in the neighborhood. A lot of those boys and girls, they come from single family homes. They didn't have the same family structure that I did. I had both parents and I have an older sister, but, we were poor. We came over here with nothing, so I really appreciated and being able to see, the struggle through my parents' eyes and seeing how hard they worked made me really appreciate what being a human is about and how hard people work and how fragile people can be and how strong people can be at the same time. So I take those experiences and I put them in my music, and I've always had that just a humane aspect of my music. A lot of people, when they hear my music, they think it's automatically because the name Preach, they think I'm a gospel, or they think I'm a Christian rapper, and that's cool. I'm definitely a man of faith. I'm a spiritual guy more than anything. I love people from all walks of life, and I just think it's something that's always been in me deep down, man. And having a Romanian background, having understanding that I'm fortunate, an immigrant kid that came over here and I was given the opportunity to become something, I think really plays forth in my music. Mm-hmm. I look at everybody with an open mind and open heart. You know what I mean? I don't pass judgment on anyone. How can you? Sometimes we said, hey, this guy over here, he's a dick. And then that guy ended up being the coolest guy. You never know, man. Mm-hmm. You can't, I don't think you should just throw that out there on somebody. Get to know, kind of feel them out. But yeah, that's really how that aspect of my music comes into play. And it ties in from my upbringing, 100%.
So big shout out to Mom and Pops.
Big shout out to Mom and Pops. Biggest shout out to Mom and Pops. I spoke to him today, actually. I was on a Facebook with him. That's the beauty. See, that's the beauty behind the technology we have nowadays. And
makes the world a lot smaller, no doubt about that.
Back in the box days, you couldn't.
Back in the box days, no. But I sure say, Mom, you could have $1. Boy, I'd see that video come through. I knew Thuggish Ruggish Bone was coming on. I see whatever number it was like 664 or 99. It was, and then I'm like, here we go. Yeah. I'm waiting for it patiently, popcorn in hand. I'm like, here we go. Then they're standing around a fire barrel. East 99. This is where I'm like, Darnell, come here. Man, we used to imitate those guys and. Throw on bandanas, and you know what I mean.
So it sounds like you've had an interesting walk as an artist, especially coming from a different country. So during your longevity of being an artist, because it sounds like you've been an artist for how many years would you say?
You already helped me with the math here. So let's say
12 to 36.
Yeah. 12 to 36, 14 years?
Yeah.
14 years.
Yeah, man.
So out of that 14 years, what would you say are some of your hardest, I guess, downfalls or mistakes that you've made along the way, and how were those teachings or those mistakes considered your teachings to bring forth the wisdom to make you into a better artist to grow and develop?
That's a good question, Yadi. Some of the biggest mistakes I would say is relying on other people, 100%.
In what way?
In a way of, don't worry, man, I'll take care of this part. You just keep doing this part. Really putting your faith that something will get done instead of just taking the time to learn it a little bit and doing it yourself. I put a lot of faith, and I'm not saying, sometimes it worked out well and sometimes it backfired, and a lot of times it would backfire more than it would progress. So I think one of the main things that I would tell any up and coming artist is, yes, don't be one of those guys that say, trust no one. Or don't trust anybody. No, man, that's bullshit. You should be able to build viable relationships and relationships that can prosper and last throughout a lifetime. But be truthful, be upfront, and understand that not everybody's going to have your best interest in mind, whether they do it on purpose or whether they just really can't perform that task. I've put a lot of faith in a lot of people's hands expecting these things to get done. So, they handle this while I'm over here focused on being an artist, and it didn't get done. And it's okay. There's no hard feelings there, Joe. You know what I mean? People, you live and learn. But
I think that's a big equation of the success to an artist is by having a well-structured team. Mm-hmm. Would you not agree, Joe?
Yeah. I think that can obviously be very helpful in terms of getting stuff in a productive way and in a measurable way, getting things accomplished. But I also appreciate what he's saying in terms of the ability to do it yourself. And I think, for instance, like if you're like at least having some production skills, for instance, for a hip hop, for somebody that's trying to rap, you should really know your way around the DAW and know your way around the beats and that kind of thing, because otherwise, if you're entirely dependent upon somebody else to be doing that kind of thing, then
kind of at a standstill.
Yeah, and also you can't really verify that they're doing the work that they're saying that they're doing. So you need to kind of walk the walk a little bit in order to appreciate the quality contribution of somebody else.
For sure, guys. Yeah, I mean, it's the same concept. You got guys jumping around on stage, but really what purpose do they serve up there? If I got a guy that's supposed to be videotaping my show, his job is to videotape, and next thing you know, I'm asking, hey, do you have the footage? Do you have any footage? You can't produce any footage? Were you just up there bouncing around and just hanging around to get the girls afterward? Or was it, or if I got a guy that's making an ass out of me and he's representing my team, and then I have to hear it from somebody and say, hey, man, get your boy over here because he's acting ass. He's over there pinching the promoter's nipples, and we're not doing none of that stuff. I can't have any of that stupidity around, and I refuse to, man, because at the end of the day, it falls back. It's not so-and-so did it. Oh, that preaches. Yep.
And that's not what I'm about. To the brand.
And I'm just saying in general. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying in general, so.
Yeah.
Try to be more hands-on is what I can say. And now the cool thing is there's so many videos. I mean, YouTube alone is almost like a class in itself.
Yeah, YouTube,
from the basics,
university.
from the bottom of the bottom, you can type in anything and learn the first 3 basic steps to what you're wanting to dive into. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think that's a reliable source.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff on YouTube, and also there's kind of a democratic element in terms of the views, because if it's quality content and getting a lot of views.
For sure. And then the cool thing is you're able to read through the comments and really see people that have been doing it for 20, 30 years say, you know what, this guy makes a lot of sense, and it's a wonderful way he's taking time to explain this, because that's all we need sometimes, for something to click in our mind and say, oh my God, why didn't I think of this? It's something so simple, could have added on so much more value to my brand.
Do you have any particular memories of coming to those sorts of realizations?
Any memories that really jump out. I can't say I really do, but I just the visual aspect. I think being able to put together a creative visual along with your song,
right?
That's something that sticks out immediately. And I think that really having that understanding that it doesn't take a whole budget. It doesn't take you having to rent cars and do all this crazy extra stuff. And you don't need all that. You just need creativity. And don't be so direct when you're rapping about this in music. Don't, maybe make your visuals something that would be further away than what you're even talking about. You got to be creative. So don't go word by word. I'm waving a flag and then you're waving a flag in a video. No. You know what I mean?
So as far as that creative ability, which video do you have that would probably back with what you're saying? Which one do you think is your most creative body of work visually out of your videos on YouTube?
Oh, the ones that are released.
Which one sticks out of your mind?
I would say Homicide. Homicide. Yeah. There's another one that's unreleased. We want to release it more so toward October. It's a collaboration I did with my buddy Space. Shout out to Space. But I feel like a lot of the videos I did were well put together videos, Joe. I just, now looking back in hindsight, I wish I could have had more time to put into them, and not worrying about getting it done in one day, because a lot of things we're fighting as independent artists, the budget is the struggle. Sometimes it's hard getting a videographer to do exactly, because they're like, man, I'm not going to do all this for $300 and for, and then I got 20 other gigs coming up this month, and I respect that. So it's like, what can we do to make it stand out in 4 hours? You know what I mean? So then you push it out because you're eager about it, and then you look back at it, you're like, damn, I had this idea, that idea. Now I got this. But what's done is done. I take nothing away from it. I have beautiful, beautiful bodies of work, but I don't even think I've put my best foot forward yet, to be honest with you, to be completely 100% honest. Something clicked in me about 2 years ago, and I'm looking at it way different now, Joe. I'm looking at it as I have nothing to prove as far as my lyrical ability. They know what time it is with me, Yachty. The city knows I love my city, but I'm not just thinking St. Louis. I've stopped thinking St. Louis a long time ago. I'm thinking worldwide.
Yeah.
I want Preach to be gold, platinum in Belgium. I want to hit Croatia. I want to hit, Sweden, Finland, Canada, you name it, Brazil, Venezuela. I want to be everywhere.
Yeah,
Preach is global.
Are you rapping in Romanian or primarily in English?
I have a few tracks that I've been going back and forth on, and every time I do, Joe, I get a great response, man. I get the craziest response from people back home in Romania. They say, "Bro, why don't you do more? Like, how is it that you're not on yet?" Like,
well, yeah, it's kind of a cost benefit because Romania is going to have a smaller audience than something in the English language, but at the same time, repping the homeland and type of thing, and so there's actually a lot that you can do legally in terms of collecting royalties abroad.
For sure.
So I have a bunch of friends that are both, basically. They release stuff and it's like they're getting on the radio in Zambia and that type of thing. And it's like, basically the performance rights organizations are not going to go about collecting those royalties.
Right. And that's
so
what
there's a lot of money that you leave sitting on the table.
Out there.
Yeah. If you, and so having a team that can, because basically what you want to do is keep track of where you're getting the plays and then see if it's worth it. But if you're getting a significant amount of plays, and you're going to get a nice couple $1,000 from sending a letter, then obviously you should do that.
And I would agree, because when I was able to check my analytics, just different ways, my Spotify analytics, my YouTube numbers, I'm seeing a lot of hits, Russia, Poland, Romania. I'm like, man, UK, Brazil especially, they're really into the faster rappers. They're really into like the Bone Thugs and the Twisters, and so I told myself, I said, one of my biggest goals, to add on what you guys asked earlier as well, like what I'd like to see happen is I'd like to be able to tour. I'd love the opportunity to go back home and really do a tour back in Romania. I think it's something that could be done, and I think if I work hard enough this year going into the next year and put together some visuals and do some half and half Romanian English that people love so much, I think that we can really knock the door down out there and say it would make a great story. Like, look at this guy that left at such an early age. He speaks Romanian pretty fluently. Some of his words are a little off, but I mean, do you blame me? I've been gone for we've been here since 1991. I mean, that's 30 years. You know what I mean? So for me to be able to still hold on to those, I think it would really play over well, and I think people would really, really dig it, man.
Yeah, I think
they would really dig it. I think it'd be a cool story.
The right release strategy too. You get, because you can actually really tailor those releases to that audience, basically. And I think it's I think it's absolutely something.
And I'm fully tapped in with what's going on in Romania. I'm seeing the artists. I'm seeing the young guys. I watch the old guys, because I used to go over to Romania. My mom would send me home. I'd stay for 3 months at a time. I'd go stay with my grandmother, but I love it. And I see what's going on out there. And I said, man, this is what I'd love to be able to touch the minds and the hearts of the people back home a lot more. And that's something that I plan on doing. I'm actually working on a few songs with a producer from back home, real nice guy. He goes by the name of Sin Beats, my buddy Mihai. We're going to put together a good campaign. He said, Preach, but when we do this, we have to make sure we're very, very, smart about the way we do it, because we can. And he said, I have people back home, but we have to be smart about how we push this. And if we push it the right way, dude, it could be a great thing. Again, the little response I'm getting, just not even promoting those songs, but people are reaching out to me in my inbox saying, bro, where are you from? You're Romanian, dude. You rap better than anybody back home, and keep going. Why are you not bigger than you are? And if I only had $1 for every time somebody asked me that, or why I'm not signed to Strange Music, much love to everybody, man. I just feel like a part of me, I feel like I got greater heights to
you're still on the ascent, and
still on the ascent.
We're definitely going to help you get to
100%.
the place where you can get that. And I think part of it is getting your intellectual property arranged into a proper portfolio under your business name, and then also a really solid website and marketing campaign. And I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be able to do that. So there's definitely some stuff we can do to help you with
I appreciate
regards
that.
to that.
I would really
Yeah.
appreciate that. And Yada, my hunger's there. My hunger has never ceased. My hunger growl is growling more so than ever. My work ethic is there. I think my confidence is definitely there. My ability to rap, I could run circles around these. I'm not worried about that. But again, I'm not in competition. I love seeing everyone win, from the artists in St. Louis to the artists I've met abroad. There's enough for all of us to go around, man. We just got to keep pushing. I think that's the thing about it is, keep pushing, but know where your sights are and know the road that you're trying to walk. Right now, I'm comfortable doing what I'm doing, Joe. I know where I need to improve, where I think it's going to help my overall growth. And that's, like you said, is being able to find ways to really put a good campaign out there. And I think once I do that, my eyes are going to open even wider, and I'm going to say, holy shit, this is what I've been waiting for right here. And it's going to pick up organically. And then the cool part about it is I feel like when they get to know who I am as an artist, they're going to go back from my newest body of work to my oldest body of work and say, man, this guy's been doing this for this long.
Yeah, it's going to be brand new.
I mean, I think it's
body of work
and
I
think it's a great strategy too, because your dollar is going to go much farther in Romania than it is here. So basically, I mean, you could even in advance of your tour do like billboards and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, and it would be an eighth the cost. So
right. I'd be crazy.
And then if you
man.
get a nice organic body of listens growing out of Romania, then you can use that growth to
accelerate,
bolster accelerate, cause accelerant as an accelerant upon your growth domestically too.
For sure.
So.
And those guys back home are smart. They have good guys moving back home. And what one thing I like about the artists that they're doing is they're not only catering even Romanian artists, because we're Latinate, so we're Latinate by blood. So what they're doing is they're doing a lot of crossover hits. They're doing a lot of songs that are getting recognition. Songs that are recorded in Romanian or hits in Romania are also hits in South America. I'm talking millions and millions of hits.
Yeah, because Romanian's is a Romance language.
It's a Romance
right?
language.
Yeah.
Yep. Like Portuguese, French, Spanish, same concept. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So
that's interesting.
I get. See, these are the things I get excited about. Like I visualize this. I could visualize me on stage right now in Bucharest. You know what I mean? Just rocking it and saying something in Romanian, saying, "Thank you guys for having me." And da 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 da. You guys ready for me to kick this shit? Kick it, preach. I'm visualizing it, man, and I will get there. I told my parents, we're getting there, man. A journey road. I haven't stopped. I just had to switch up my strategy a bit and understand. I've done everything I could do here in my city. It's time for me to take their show on a road.
So speaking of strategy, when did you come to terms to where you were like, you know what, I'm going to form a business and putting the title and the name to your business? So, like, when did your company, your record label, your business come about? Like, how did you, who influenced you to do that? Like, a lot of artists, they fail to incorporate themselves in some fashion. And what drove you to the LLC?
I think what initially drove me to the LLC is just like anybody else. You're watching these guys. You see No Limit Records, Cash Money Records, Rough Riders, everybody. You, as an artist, you always want your own label, quote unquote. Did I know what comes with that?
Did you watch a YouTube video and you know what? This sounds like a good idea. Let me Google it and find out how much it costs. Like, what inspired you to actually do that? Or did you do that just to have it on the back burner?
I did that just to have it on a back burner. So when it's ready, I can say, yes, preach unexpected music. And I said, what's the best thing that defines me as an artist? Because my music is in a moment. I can't even put myself in a lane. That's the bad thing about it. It irks me sometimes because I'm like, man, I don't know. It's like one song is so different than the other. But my buddy Sketch said it best. Like I said in the last interview, he said, preach. He's the type of artist. He said, man, this guy, my brother, he makes music in a moment. He makes music based on what he feels. And that's the truth. I cannot go against the grain. I refuse to go against the grain because it's not what I do.
I think it
happens organically.
I think, doing that, it can, especially in the genre of hip hop, you can succeed in doing a specific particular type of rap, but I think like you having an open mind, it keeps your creative juices flowing to where you're not locked in a box, to where you now open yourself to being labeled as a music artist opposed to a specific genre based, like subgenre under the hip hop. And, you know, I think that Preach is a fine definition of a music artist that is labeled as a hip hop artist. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I love
Because
pop
I've
music.
listened to your
Yachty,
catalog.
I feel like I'm
all,
a pop artist at the end
Well,
of the day too. I love
yeah.
pop. I love underground. I could do it all. I just don't want to be all Preacher's the underground fast rapper. No, there's so much to me that I haven't even tapped into yet, and I feel like I'm slowly getting there even more so.
You know, the one thing that I could say that I like about Preach's music, as being a listener for several years, is the choice of the instrumental. I think he's very. You have a super good ear for a choice of an instrumental, and how, you know, even in some of the instrumentals that you do pick, you know, with me being an artist as well, I'm like, man, how would I even attempt to write something? And then, you know, the just the beauty of the song creation and the songwriting that he delivers on particular instrumentals, I think is the true definition of a music artist.
Yeah, I would agree with
man.
that.
Thank
You know, I was very impressed when we went to Soul Shed. Shout out to Soul Shed, the jam over.
Oh,
in,
absolutely.
South City. And
Oh,
you
yeah,
were,
yeah, that was cool.
and you were you know, flowing over the like the jazz backing. You know, it was pretty sick.
A little impromptu. Yeah,
Yeah, we were
cool,
talking
man.
about that the other night when we went to see Ryan Marquez.
Yeah.
So, you know, big shout out to Ryan Marquez. But yeah, Joe brought up a good point that night. He said, I think it would be awesome to put together a concert with,
or some kind of, you know, some releases or
some
something,
releases
yeah.
with the jazz influenced musicians with your vocals. I think
Man,
that
I
would
would
be.
love that.
I think
I
that
love
would
the
be
concept
amazing.
of having a live band.
Because
behind
Ryan,
it. that would be a
Yeah,
whole nother level.
Ryan said
live
something.
band, yeah.
Ryan said something very funny to me that night when he was when we were at his album release. He said, "Words of wisdom: never give your music to a jazz musician because we will mess it up."
Yeah.
Oh,
Meaning they'll take it and do a whole rendition of your song and make it sound completely like nothing
Like
that you've
nothing.
ever heard.
Wow.
Yeah, but like the same
I think it's
structure and
beautiful
stuff.
though. It's
Yeah, yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
Absolutely. So, Preach, before we, you know, end this interview and wrap it up, is there any business legal questions that you would like to ask Joe while we're here on the show that, you know, you have the opportunity here on the My Talent Checklist to be face-to-face with the entertainment attorney? Is there any, you know, questions or doubts that you've had during your walks of being an artist that you've always wanted to have the opportunity to talk to an attorney about?
You can call me anytime, by the way.
no, I appreciate that. To be honest with you, Yachty, at the moment, I mean, I'm sure I do. I just, you know, I really can't touch on any one thing right now, but I'd love to start with the trademark of the name, of course. And then I did have a producer artist contract that was presented to me when I did buy an exclusive beat. There's some verbiage in there I didn't really understand. Well, I'm like, main thing is I want to credit everyone the honest way.
Right.
You know, if I want to abide by the contract. I don't, you know, of course. I just want to, there was something in there that I didn't really understand. So I definitely like to shoot it over to Joe, and maybe you could take a look at it for
absolutely.
me. And
I'd
say,
love to
Preach,
help.
well, this is all
just
it means.
Send it by, and I'll give it a read. No problem. Yeah.
You know, I do have a
appreciate
question
that.
about, you know, contracts like that.
Yeah.
If you're you know, you buy an instrumental and you're presented a contract, and say you find something within that contract that doesn't set too well with you, but the rest of the contract does, is there any way to rebuttal those terms?
Or to
Yeah,
negotiate.
so
I
basically,
like that. I see what you're
yeah,
saying.
it's the principle. I mean, basically, there's offer, acceptance, and consideration in a contract. So, when you're looking at the original contract for the beat that you bought, you know, basically that's their offer. They're saying these are the terms, and if you agree by these terms, then sign below, and the performance of the obligations will be governed by this contract. But if you scratch stuff out and write additional stuff in there, then that's your counteroffer. And then when they sign and approve the counteroffer, then those terms become the terms. So, I mean, you always have the opportunity to negotiate. But one of the big things you got to look out for in this situation is that the written contract governs. So basically, like, whatever they say to you is basically not relevant. So, like, the only thing that matters are the four corners of the contract.
Black and white.
Yeah. So you've got to make sure that in particular with these like co-producing 360 type arrangements, that you are very clear about the terms of it, and that the other person is too, basically just like you're saying, because nobody's, in most cases, I mean, I think these deals start out, everybody's trying to be fair, but over time it can cause tension for sure. I've seen it happen with artists and record companies and that type of thing, causing tension because the terms of the initial arrangement were ambiguous or not understood well by one or both parties. Sure. And so, just as a matter of good business practice, it's always good to, have it reviewed if you need by a lawyer, but also just make sure that you make explicit on the contract, this is what we agreed about. That's
right.
Yeah.
Right, to get off on the right foot. I just want to be fair in everything, and I want to play my part and make sure I take care of 50-50, because that's what it is to me. It's a collaboration. They lay down that backbone, especially, if that's what we agree on, that's what the agreement states clearly in the contract. But I just want to make sure I'm understanding everything that I'm obligated to do when I do release the song, give them full credit, pay them this, you give them this much publishing, give them this much, as a composer on ASCAP or whatever, whether they're with BMI or ASCAP.
The attributions.
The attributions. I want to make sure I'm 100% doing what is asked of me from the paperwork.
Yeah, so, and like my form contracts are very simple. Like at most a couple pages, and I just like to have a table, as far as the percentage breakdown, because I think that's where people need to be super explicit, basically. Right. Because there's multiple types of rights associated with the final work. And so you want to make sure that that's crystal clear.
And I think that's cool, because anybody that feels that way really means that they care.
They
care
exactly.
enough to want to do the right thing. So,
Yeah.
I also feel that, from an artist perspective, when buying beats, that an artist should be able to present a contract to the producer, having the producer sign off that they, are reliable and responsible for the use of any samples within that instrumental that the artist isn't aware of.
Yeah.
Because there are certain tones, riffs, and stuff like that the artist may not know where that particular, man, that sounds really cool. And then come to find out that song becomes success, and then you have the original sue you for everything you got.
Yeah.
So
when people have a problem with that,
should be some form of artist to producer, to where the producer actually signs off and says, yes, I came up with this own creation.
Well, or at minimum. So basically what I always do is just have them put in a warrant, basically, that the producer warrants that they own all the intellectual property associated with it, or have the right to use it, basically, and that they will indemnify and hold harmless the final person that uses it from any claims for infringement as a result of employing their work.
Yeah, and I think that's a powerful contract for every artist on the planet that's doing hip hop to actually have.
Oh yeah, 100%. Anything involving samples and that type of thing, because at the end of the day, it's unlikely you're going to get hit with a big infringement lawsuit, but if it takes off, you could get a cut taken out of your.
That's right.
So that's
could hurt the penny bank.
Yeah,
most definitely.
Yeah.
We don't want the penny bank. We want to keep the change inside the piggy.
We need that penny bank.
We want to keep the pennies inside the oinky.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Preach, before we let you go, is there any upcoming events or any shout-outs that you'd like to give, and where people can find you on social media?
Man, right on. Yeah, I want to send a shout-out to everybody, man. When I say everybody, I want to send a shout-out to everybody that's working every day, all my friends and family I haven't been able to maybe see due to what's going on with the COVID pandemic. I want to send a shout-out to everybody that continues to support my brand in any way, shape, or form. I love you guys, and I thank you. It means the world to me, because I know there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and there's still a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that goes on, man. And just know that I haven't stopped. I feel like I'm just getting started. I feel like I'm ever growing as an artist, and I just want to say much love and much respect to everybody, man. And I hope everyone continues to find a lot of success in all their endeavors. To all my music buddies out there, man, keep pushing, keep grinding. We all go through it, man. Some days we wake up and say, F it. I was like that, a while back when my best friend passed away. And, I want to send a shout out to Sketch. I want to send a shout out to Mama G. I want to send a shout out to everybody that was affected. His birthday's actually coming up, and it's a real interesting time for me, man. And but I want him to know that your brother Preach is going. We're pushing forward. Journey Road hasn't stopped. I'm going to keep doing it because I love it. The love is there. just like the love is there, I want my business to be intact all the way right. 360. And we ain't talking about a 360 deal. I mean 360 business, music, round and round like a merry-go-round. So shout out to everybody, man. I love you guys. Keep in touch with me. Follow me. My social media links, PREACHSTL, at PREACHSTL. Working on a website. We'll have that back up and coming soon. And then we'll have some merch out there for you guys as well. So, and make sure you're streaming and bumping my new music. I put out 6 songs in the past 5 months. So let me know which ones you guys like, man. And I love you. And we're going to take this shit to the next level.
That's right. That's right.
And like the Yada Dice say, all for one for all. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me, man.
Yeah, most definitely. And just to let you know, we'll go ahead and give you guys the September calendar real quick for the people that are tuning in for the artists that we have coming up on the show. Let me get to it real quick. We have coming up and next Sunday, September 19th, we have V.I. Peach, which is a female hip-hop artist out of Cincinnati, Ohio. And then September 26th, we have Big G from BBMG. He owns BBMG. It's a Big B music group out of Southern Florida.
I remember you telling me about your buddy down there.
Yeah. So in October, just real quick, we have October 3rd, we have Funk Man out of Chicago.
Hey, shout out to Funk Man.
October 10th, we have Smoke Coleon from Nashville. October 17th.
Shout out Smoke too. That's my brother from another.
There you go.
Most definitely. October 17th, we have Chevy K. Martin, awesome videographer out of St. Louis.
Shout out to Chevy. I can't wait to do some work with him real soon.
Yeah, and then October 24th, we have DJ Hammer from Richmond, Virginia.
Very talented.
And then Halloween, we're going to close October out with Steve O'Brien from Jefferson County.
Yeah, shout out to Steve O.
Yeah, so that's what we got coming up here in the month and a half to come here at My Talent Checklist. Be sure to follow us. Click the subscribe button. I just started the YouTube station, so we're going to be chopping down these hour-long live streams into short clips per the questions that we asked the artists that we bring onto the show, and I appreciate everybody tuning in. And until next Sunday, this is Chris Wills, Joseph Ott. Thank you, Preach, for coming on.
Thank you, guys.
And tune in for next Sunday when we're live with V.I. Peach.
Oh, yeah.
Until next time, folks.
Ciao.
All right. That was good.
Oh, man.